Thanks everyone for joining us for today's General Session 3 in the Digital Solutions track. Our topic is presenting home experiences digitally. Let's talk about what the purpose is: to highlight tools and tactics for promoting lifestyle and experiential features. So there are a lot of things that we promote about homes that are more design-centric, visual, fashion sort of selections, but we also have to promote other features that don't necessarily fall under that rubric, and this is about how we could do that in interesting ways, leveraging digital, okay? And our presenters for today are Anya. Mike Moore is not here in person, but I'm gonna roll the tape on a couple of segments from an interview that I did with him. Mike is really kind of the spiritual godfather for housing transformation. He's one of the spiritual godfathers, really. Been preaching a lot of the concepts, finished homes, the personalization on a schedule, new versus used for 20 plus years. He's had family health issues, and now he's got a torn meniscus, so he could not be here in person, but I'm going to give him some airplay videographically. Melissa's here down at the end of the table, and Cody, I'm going to ask you each to just introduce yourself, your company, the 60-second version.
Perfect.
Go, Cody.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Cody Smith. I am the president and co-founder of Novi Home. Novi Home is an app-based solution to show your digital assets to buyers. It also bridges the communication between your buyer and sales team / builder team. Background, we created a similar company in medical space about 15 years ago, actually longer than that. And really our expertise and what we bring to the table is buyer experience / patient experience from the medical industry. So that's what we understand. We understand how to show your digital assets in front of a buyer and have that engagement flow.
Very cool. Interesting. Anya, so you stepped in for me as the anchor this morning. Thank you so much, but a little introduction in case we've got some new people here.
Hi, I'm Anya Chrysanthon. I'm a Chief Brand Officer at Inugo. At Inugo, we believe that buying a new home should be fun and easy. And so we do that by providing great visualization, so anything from renderings to 3D virtual tours to interactive design tools, and all the way to buy now, so you can transact online. And of course, we back it up by giving you all the analytics on the back end, so you can see individual journey for each customer. You can see exactly what they're doing online, so you can engage them. And also you can accumulate aggregate data, so you can see trends and stay on top of that.
Very cool. Melissa Mormon.
All right, so I'm Melissa. I'm one of the co-founders of BDX, which was a startup 22 years ago. We do a lot of different things, but mainly focusing on driving leads and connections for our builders, as well as kind of personalized experience through products like Envision and our VR tours and visualizers and all of the amazing graphics. And my role is Chief Experience Officer.
Very good. So the flow, again, I'm going to do a couple of excerpts from Mike that I think I'll comment on or just let stand for themselves, and then it's going to be a lot of show and tell, right, of how are we doing these experiential and lifestyle benefits. Cody's going to go first, Anya next, and then Melissa, and then maybe we'll have time for Q&A, you never know.
Most of this changes with a mindset shift. So if we think of home ownership and lifestyle and living experience and an experience economy, what can we put in our digital design center, our sales centers that is promoting the lifestyle and living experience that we're going to present? It doesn't have to be the fashionable selections. There are many lifestyle selections. Started back in the day with security systems, but now we've got all this technology and all these other features we've discussed, health and wellness and energy efficiency. All of that needs to be promoted and presented, starting in the Digital Design Center at a pre-sale, educational, and then all the way through the process.
Very good. Go ahead and roll the second one, please.
For all of the things that we have that aren't the fashionable selections, aren't the features, but they impact our lifestyle. There should still be video, short video clips, virtualization, lists and features. And again, making them stand alone as features in a new versus used home. These are things that are going to improve your lifestyle. So using all of the available technology, virtual video, storytelling, storyboards, all of that needs to be on your website and in your digital design center.
Some of the keys that I heard was it's got to start pre-sale.
Yep.
So it needs to be, embedded in that early messaging and on the websites, and that's educational. It needs to be present in the sales center, in the digital design center, and then I think you're getting more in depth on that. And there needs to be a physical component to some of this as well. I think a lot of our challenge moving forward is how do we blend digital with virtual with real and make it all cohesive and compelling and build upon each other. So, but good basic advice from Mike. And I did want to get his voice into this room for sure. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we're going to get that Moneyball slide going.
I know, we've
All right,
seen it
let's
4
go.
times. Absolutely. Let's see if it works. It didn't convert great, but I will, I'll read it out for you. It says there isn't, well, first of all, we got any baseball fans out there? Any Brad Pitt fans? If there's any women, they're all raising their hand.
That movie.
Moneyball, for those of you that aren't baseball fans, if you haven't seen the movie, it's a fantastic movie. Brad Pitt plays Billy Beane. It is about the 2002 Oakland Athletics, and Billy Beane hired an assistant general manager by the name of Peter Brand, who's played by Jonah Hill. And Peter Brand was a super metric genius. And basically what he did is he went in and started to analyze baseball like it's never been analyzed before, where they were looking at the amount of pitches that were being pitched. They were looking at who walks, guys get on base. He really changed the game. During the middle of the season, they traded Jason Giambi, who was an all-star, and brought in a no-name catcher that they put at first base. It's a fantastic movie. But the reason why this slide is up there, and you can't see the quote, but I'll read it. It says, "There is an epidemic failure within the game to understand what is really happening." Novi Home, we work with over 120 builders across the U.S., a number of top 100. Paul Hansen's here. We work with a number of EPCON franchises. There is an epidemic failure within the builder industry to understand what is really happening with their buyers. And that's how we see it. And this is kind of what we talk about with our builders. Home buyer engagement plus the home builder / sales team / marketing equals your HBX. Your HBX is what we call the home buyer experience, right? And you have to control that buyer side of the equation. Now, Anya and Melissa are going to talk to you about different digital assets that you can give to your buyers, that you can sell the dream, right? But the real question is, the game is changing. And not just because I'm in technology, the game is changing because your buyer is changing. Your buyers are millennials. Your buyers are on Snapchat, TikTok. They're consuming YouTube videos, right? And so the question is, how are you using technology to sell the dream? And what platform, right? Every single builder in here, the equation is going to be different based on your buyers. If you're a 55 plus community, that's going to be different than a production builder at the home price of, or starting price of $300,000, right? So really we look at tools for engagement. One of the easy ones that not a lot of builders are using is photos and videos. Super simple, right? Are you delivering photos, both pre-sale and post-sale, along with videos? Virtual tours. There are so many cool things with the virtual tours and the interactive floor plans. Such an experience that you can create for the buyers. Community maps, build to buy. You're here at the tech conference. So many different technologies that you can use to engage your buyers. But how are you selling the experience? And this is what we should be asking ourselves, and this is what we work with with our builders. Obviously, Novi Home, personalized builder app, right? That's where we live, and that's the effectiveness, and that's something that we see very valuable. There's always also buyer portals within the website. Email, if you're using email right now, it's okay, but let's open up, right? Get out of that box. Websites, right? Ton of information and the ability to have interactive features within your website, and then obviously text and SMS messaging. So the question is, are you controlling your side of the equation? Are you controlling what your buyer is seeing and the tools and the digital assets that you're presenting to them? A lot of ways to communicate. Obviously, email.
We needed another table for that.
I know.
Sorry.
Who doesn't have a
noisy
seat?
table.
But
Table
people are
is
hungry.
coming.
We don't want people storming the table, our table, because they're hungry. So
Communication tools. Email's okay. If you're using email, I would encourage you to look at other options. Email is very hard to track. It is okay, but it's not the best. Text messaging is very good, but as a builder, it's hard to track that if you do not own that that sales agent's cell phone, right? In-app chat, that's a feature that we have. We love that. Very similar to Messenger or Instagram DMs. And then obviously your phone. A lot of ways to communicate, but you've got to own that process with your buyers as you're communicating the digital assets and the tools that you've invested in to sell your homes. The one thing that we ask all of our builders, how are you delivering a personalized experience? And how are you personalizing all these really cool renderings and virtual tours and the website you spent tens of thousands of dollars on? How are you making that personal for your buyer so that they are emotionally attached to the purchase of that home? And then, are we using the available digital assets to engage buyers? This one really bugs me. So many times we work with builders that have invested tens of thousands of dollars in virtual tours or some type of interactive plat map, and then they are not getting that in front of their buyer. So great, you've now invested, you have that tool. How are you getting that in front of your buyer? And I think that's something that all builders, and as we work with our builders, we're asking them and figuring out how to get that in front of them. I'll kind of end with this. This is the easiest one and probably the most cost effective. Are you using videos/photos to update your buyers? Your buyers are on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, any other social media platform. There's a new one that my kids use called Be Real. I've now got to go figure out what the heck that thing is, right? But you've got to use photos and videos to update your buyers. And I'll give you a real easy one. This is one of our partners. This is a 25-second update.
Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Clark. My name is Joel. I'm one of the area construction managers with Davidson Homes. I just wanted to give you a quick update on your home. So we have passed all of our rough inspections. We just passed our pre-installation this morning. The next step is to insulate the home, and then after that, we'll be rolling right into the drywall and starting to put the inside of the house together.
Have a good day, guys.
Yep, killer. For the buyer, that's a great experience. That videos can be used post-close or pre-sale, especially if you're a production builder and you have inventory. So.
All righty. Thank you, Cody. Let's move on to Anya.
So I'm going to talk to you about some of the outside-the-box examples of using virtual tours. I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about specific examples of virtual tours this morning, and I talked about importance of interactivity, importance of making it personalized, and importance of it being smart so you can get all the data from that. But outside of showing the flooring, outside of showing the cabinets and all those features, like what else can we be thinking about? So I have 11-year-old twins, and they are obsessed with video games. And I think pretty much any Gen Z, millennials, right, we all grew up with video games. And video games are becoming more and more real. So when I look at their screen, it's like, wow, I can't believe how realistic it looks. And I think with virtual tours, we're definitely moving in a direction where it's becoming very, very real. So soon, especially with Metaverse and Web 3.0, Meta invested ton of money into this metaverse, right? Whether it's going to pay off or not. But the whole idea of Web 3.0 and metaverse is that your experience when you go online is going to be virtual. So you're essentially going to be entering this virtual world where you're going to be able to interact with people virtually. So until we have the suit that we can put on, so I can feel and touch and really get a feeling that I'm inside of a model home, that's the next step. But we can utilize other senses to help us make it more realistic. Because when you are visiting a physical model home, there is something about that smell, the touch, the sounds, everything else that still separates real from imaginary. So let's talk about some of those things that can help us make real virtual tour feel more real. So I want you guys to close your eyes for a second. I know you just ate, so don't fall asleep on me, but close your eyes and come on, everybody, close your eyes. Okay. And I want you to listen to the sounds. Do we have the sounds? And tell me where are you guys right now?
At the beach.
At the beach. So this is an example of a virtual tour that we did for New Jersey, Jersey Shore builder. And so, I mean, just listening to the seagulls, and you can hear the waves. And we also incorporated, if you notice, the change in a sunset versus a sunrise. So it really transports you into that, because when you're buying a house at the Jersey Shore, great, yeah, you want to buy a great house, but it's probably not the reason why you're buying a house there. You're buying a house for the experience of Jersey Shore. So what's easier to transport them into that experience than to add the seagulls and to add the waves to that?
So sound is missing from a lot of visualizations, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and from the AV industry, the home theater world,
Yeah.
80% of the emotion in a movie is actually carried by the sound.
Yeah.
So we're leaving the emotional component out when we're not.
It's like
including
we
the
play
sound.
silent movies.
Yeah.
It's like
And that's such an easy one to incorporate.
Yeah.
And so whether you have a community or if you're just selling an individual standalone home, so I took the sound out on this one, but you can see, so how many of you guys have ever been to Outer Banks, North Carolina? Like, so instead of just showing the house and the backyard, they really included the surrounding area. And right, if you've ever been to Outer Banks, like you can immediately recognize this is Outer Banks. And so whether you place this house on the shore side or you place that house on the sound side, you can really play with those sounds and the surrounding landscape to transport somebody into that feeling.
So that's drone photography, that's not CGI or computer generated graphics?
It is computer generated.
It is?
Yes. So it is
Great.
photoreal, but computer generated. Exactly. Or an example of somebody buying that lake house. Again, when you're buying a lake house, you're probably not buying it for the house itself, although, again, it's great to have a house. But the sound of the lake and the waves and maybe the surrounding forest. So those
Is
are
it
all
computer generated sound?
you know what? I'm not sure about that. So, but I'm sure there's probably a whole lot of galleries we can tap into. So I don't know if we need to necessarily use AI when you have real ocean recordings.
Right, right.
But yeah. So again, it's all about transporting the buyer into the state of mind of, hey, what's it going to look like when you own that lakefront home? And it's more than a house itself. It's how it feels to be there. And you can do that easily with the sound. Another, I don't know if we can play this video. Oh, perfect, okay. Another detail that you can easily incorporate is how is that going to feel to live in this home throughout the day? So you can see here the progression of time as the light changes. So again, as a buyer, oftentimes we want to know, hey, do I need to add this extra window? Is that something I really need? And you can see how the time progresses here and whether or not, whoops, sorry, I can't, I'm challenged with technology. It's not letting, okay, there we go. So you can really see how the sun comes into the home. You can see it rolling on the floor, and so it really gives you more of a feel that you're really there. Again, so incorporating light, that's an easy one to make somebody feel like they're really part of that experience. This one is showing changing seasons. So if you're a builder in Colorado, for example, and it's all about the winter time, why not show them the experience of what it's going to feel like to be there in the wintertime? Or again, if you're selling a beachfront community, show them what that is going to feel like with seagulls. So all the, again, it's easy.
Where are
right?
your jingle bells? It would have been seasonal.
Yes.
I know. I didn't want to take too much time with all the sounds, but yes. So now we've done a great job again showing flooring and all the finishes. And John, and now you talk a lot about showing smart home technology or showing if it's
I have a soft spot for that
you
stuff.
do have a soft spot for that. So how can we show that in the home, in a virtual tour? So unfortunately, we haven't had any builders ask for that yet, but I wanted to show you an example of incorporating hotspots. So the Clayton homes, they're modular or manufactured homes. So
welcome. I am here to take you on an audio tour. I'd like to introduce one of the new plans from the Rocketeer series from Clayton Homes. The Rocketeer is built in a series, ranging from a single wide all the
While the exterior walls are erected, team members have been assembling the intricately engineered truss system that makes up the foundation of your roof.
So again, most people are not familiar with what manufactured homes are. So they've incorporated these videos as hotspots into the virtual tour so that you can learn about manufactured home. What does it mean to live in a manufactured home? And so I thought that that would be a great way to also incorporate any information about whether it's smart home technology or a healthy home. That's certainly an idea.
So that was a second video. We did the roof trusses, and then we went down to the flooring. But I think we've got the structures and systems track that's been running side by side with this, and part of that's about how do we innovate within the structure and in the systems, but it's also like how do we tell that story, right? And here's some great examples of storytelling, right? Where your base video is exposing some of the detail, and then you're doing education and taking it out of the factory and helping them understand quality. So that's exactly the sort of stuff we're looking for in this session.
Exactly. So, but yeah, with the hotspots, you can pretty much show them and teach them about all the different features of your home. So in this case, they're just using a simple brochure to tell them about the finishes. But yeah, why not do that with smart home, et cetera. Another interesting feature for virtual tour is the whole community. So instead of just making one model and touring one single model, why not show them the entire community and show them several different models on the same street so they can go inside the model, come out, and really tour it like you would a parade of homes. Mm-hmm. So it's another outside of the box idea that a lot of our builders are starting to utilize. And again, it's just showing an interactivity there because again, when you can engage with the virtual tour, you become emotionally attached to that experience as you go through. Let's see. So this is an example of showing the entire community and amenities. So we know that new construction buyers buy new construction for amenities. It's not just about the home anymore. So if you do have amenities in your community, make sure that you are incorporating that into your virtual tour. Tell them the story of what it's going to feel like to live in your community. I mean, I just love that the sunset, like, right? You can feel that like hitting your face, and what it would feel like to swim in that pool. I certainly want to jump in. So it's not just about inside of a home, but it is showing what it looks like outside your entire community.
Anya, what's the process like working with a builder or a developer on stuff like this? I mean, where is the creative inspiration coming? Is that at Anugo, or is it at the builder and then you guys are working to a spec? I'm just curious about that.
So it's definitely collaboration. I mean, we have a team of experts who, I mean, they live, breathe this stuff day in and day out.
Yeah.
So when we partner with the builder, we can always suggest certain ideas, but I think a lot of it comes from their marketing, because they've already done the homework. They already told us, hey, who's the ideal buyer for this community? What type of amenities I'm going to offer?
Right.
So it's just transferring that to.
And are there already like these video assets that exist that would show amenities experience? Or, because my typical take on that is there's some fancy brochure, coffee table brochure that's got pictures of something that's not realized yet, but do you guys like work from a base document like that to bring it to life and
Yeah, it's
animate it?
very similar to bringing a home to life, right?
Yeah.
With the CAD files, so it is kind of a similar process to that. Another thing that I wanted to show is incorporating humans into the experience. So the one you just saw, it was just amenities, no humans, but now we can also add people, we can add animals, to really bring it to life. And what's wonderful about showing humans is that you already know who your ideal buyer profile is. So help them see themselves in this video, right? There's a lot of stuff that we can't do because of fair housing rules when people come in and they ask, hey, who's buying in this community? But you can attract your ideal buyer if you can show them what that ideal buyer looks like.
Okay, is she a mom of those kids? Like, she's very fit. She's very fit.
Hey,
Okay,
Nanny.
I was
That's the
behind
nanny.
you until I saw
Why do
that.
they all look so darn fit?
Right.
Totally.
That's the avatar, right? We don't want any.
Do you need to have diversity in the dogs too? I mean,
Hey, we have to represent pets, but
Cats. We need cats.
This is
John,
the
do
year
we
of
have
the
a cat?
dog. We need to understand what the Chinese New Year is. This the year of the dog? I don't.
I don't know. Where's our cat?
The cat is back here. The cat's on the table.
How many times did I have to say that?
I'm sorry. This is the cat. We have the elephant, and this is the stuffed cat. Not everybody.
Not a real stuffed cat. Like it's not like taxidermy.
Well, no, it's not a Siamese.
Or it's not
It's not
taxidermy.
taxonomy. Taxidermy.
Yeah.
Or
We're from
taxonomy.
Texas. Taxidermy.
Do you want to talk about the cat?
No, it's your cat.
But I want to take this moment to do a little educating, because not everybody understands putting the cats on the table. We've had to
Right.
talk
I
through
didn't
this,
know.
right?
I didn't.
Elephant in the room is the big issue that nobody wants to talk about. Cats on the table is there are these vexing little details, and they're running all around your feet, and you're like, let's get that cat on the table and try to understand it. I don't know that this applies to what you're going over,
Totally.
but Melissa wanted to see
Absolutely.
the cat.
Yes, so we can definitely incorporate cats, dogs, and we know people will pay extra money for their pets. So if you have some sort of amenities for pets and there's a dog park, hey, show them off. People love to see their pets. This one is an example of a gym. So again, you can add a sound of somebody actually running on the treadmill to make it sound real. So again, when you're seeing all the different amenities in the clubhouse,
Well, that's great.
add the chatter so that you feel like you're part of that community. And people are not just, sitting there, they are actually moving around and doing something.
That's great. And then the choice of the human profiles that you put in there, that's That's a tricky choice, right?
It is.
When I worked on Spiegel Catalog, one year we actually just formed the menswear stuff with chicken wire, and we didn't have any faces on it because we wanted it to be anybody to identify with it. So that's tricky stuff.
Well, I
the
think
creative side.
in marketing, it's actually the opposite. The more specific you can be, the better. So if you can identify those faces, it's better. So actually what's really cool is that we're working on technology now where, just like in a video game, you know how you come up to a character and they send you on a quest? You'll be able to come up to people and ask them, hey, why do you like living here? And they'll tell you all about this community. I love these amenities. I love this. And so it's, again, incorporating that.
So are we there today, or we're
not
close,
quite
or
yet,
what?
but close. So that's the next reiteration. So that's what's so exciting to be on the front of that is to see all the innovation when it comes to virtual tours.
I think it's interesting how we're kind of piling up these assets that make everything more real and compelling, right? We talked yesterday a lot about furniture and decor, and now you've added the environmental outside and the other elements of the experience in the community, and then humans too. So we're just layering in new assets that make all of this more compelling, more stronger educational tools, et cetera.
Absolutely. And the last thing I just wanted to show, if you're sitting there and you're saying, well, that's great, but I don't have any amenities in my community, well, you can still show the exteriors, you can still show people, you can still show the birds, traffic, whatever. So again, it's all about making it feel real for the buyer because they want to see more than just a home.
That's cool. Very good. Thank you, Anya.
Thank you.
Very nice. Okay.
The clicker.
All right. Well, I'm gonna stand up because you guys ate and you're sitting there.
Stay in the light for
Stay
the
in the light?
cameras.
Yes.
Oh, well, I look better in the dark. But anyway, let's not take a vote on that. But anyway, just a little
Cameras
more
are important.
energy so you guys wake up. So let's flip to my first slide. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to do kind of a blend of what both of my fellow panelists talked about. I'm going to talk about control and data as well as Cody did, and then also show some amazing pieces. And Anya's, work very beautiful, really nice, and I love some of those key points. So I'm going to do kind of a blend of both, and I have kind of some exciting trends that are really exciting. But let's talk about control first. And what I want to say about control is we have none, right? We are completely lost. The days of Spiegel, it's just gone. The days of Spiegel, you put the catalog in, you printed the catalog. I worked for Donnelly, we printed catalogs.
We printed our catalogs.
So we're
all
both
6
kind
million.
of dated and aged, but you have these catalogs and you give them to the customers and they would peruse the catalogs and then they would come into your store and you completely controlled the sales process, the sales dialogue, what was said, what they knew about you, everything. We have completely lost control at this point. And a lot of us are doing customer journey mapping, which is like a really amazing experience to do, but like you should do it with shots of tequila because it gives you a total headache. When you actually sit there and put yourself in your customer's shoes and try to walk through the process that you have, it's really, really humbling. But we do these nice, they're very neat and tidy in terms of this is the process and this is how the customer journey map flows. And we kind of have this wishful thinking that if customers would just follow that process, everything would be so perfect. The reality is it looks more like this, right? They're coming in and out of the process. They may jump in way over there at negotiating and contracting, and they didn't actually go through discovery and awareness. They may do this over several years, right? So it's not necessarily they all kind of follow this and stay in a journey. And the other piece of it is now we have this whole added element of digital, right? That we used to way back. We never had to worry about. And we have these digital natives who are coming in and out of the process and completely driving their own experience. So it does make it a little more challenging. And I have empathy, but you're going to have to get over it because these are our customers. That's how they engage with every brand in their life. That's how we engage with every brand in our life. And we kind of got to get our head around that. So our focus is you got to have killer engaging content. Don't hide it, as Cody said. That's not very helpful, hoarding that content that you just created. We got to offer it every touch point, right? We talked yesterday about the design process and how we kind of relegate it to this little sliver on the journey map. They're designing way back here. They're designing before you ever meet them. They're looking at all of your content. They're already ideating. So you got offered every touch point, and you got to do it online, and you got to do it in the retail space. And guess what? Those cannot be disconnected. You can't have one messaging and one set of things online and then a completely different, like, you know, the land that dinosaurs lived in your physical experience. So it's super easy. That's all you have to do. And I can probably stop there. A little spoiler alert. The online experience has to convince them that you are visit worthy. So if your online experience is really crappy and it's really dry and it's black and white images and you don't have immersive content, you just get X'd off. They're not even gonna come see you. So the days of hoarding content, which was kind of a strategy for a few years, that's completely gone. And I kind of equate it to dating apps, which I've really never actually been on one. I've been married for a very long time, so I have no idea what these look like. But supposedly, if you swipe right, that means you like what you see, I'm assuming. I'm looking at you guys, you're all married too. You're like pretending like you don't know either. Anyway, but you're trying to get them to swipe right? And they're scrolling through and they're kind of going that fast, and you're trying to get them to swipe right and put you on the consideration list. So that's our goal. Keep in mind, this is a very scientific study, the attention spans by species. So goldfish, supposedly 9 seconds. Humans, 8 seconds. Now, I actually debunked this. This is actually not true at all. There's a whole study, and Microsoft made all this stuff up, so if you want to go read it. Goldfish actually have like a couple minutes attention span, and they have memories over time, which is quite fascinating, but I still stick with humans are 8 seconds. So that's what you're dealing with. You have just a few seconds to make that first impression, or they're just moving on. They're swiping left on you. So I'm going to talk about, Cody talked about data, and I'm going to talk about data as well, and I have 2 sources of truth. This is an amazing book if you haven't read it. It's not specific to the home building industry, but it's all about big data and new data. And what it is about is, as humans, if you survey me and ask me questions on my preferences or my lifestyle or anything about anything, I will lie to you, because half the time I'm embarrassed to say anything about me. What doesn't lie is what you search on Google. So when you go in and search, it's amazing because people are truthfully searching on what is interesting to them, and it tells you all kinds of things about that. So it's a great book. It applies to lots of things. We use it in New Home Source because we track for the industry what is consumer sentiment about new homes over time. And we track it because we're kind of an early indicator in the process of what's going to be happening. And it actually doesn't have anything to do with our sites or your sites, just how many people relatively within Google are searching for thousands of new home terms. So we've been able to predict downturns, and we've predicted kind of this one that we're in at the moment just by analyzing Google traffic and search. So we're going to talk about that, and I've got some elements around that piece. Our other source of truth is Envision, which has been around for 20 years. 4,000 communities are in it, hundreds of builders are in it, and we watch the data that's in there to understand what's happening. What are builders doing, and what are consumers doing? So as we go into this and we talk about the Envision source of truth, this is really exciting to me. For years and years and years, specifically at this conference, John gets
said I
up
was
there.
going to cry about this.
He's so going to cry.
I'm looking
You'll
forward
cry
to
at some
weeping
point.
here.
Yeah, you will be weeping uncontrollably. But every year we're like, okay, manufacturers, you got to get some sexy content. Stop telling us about the wires and the gadgets and all the stuff. Tell us about lifestyle. Tell us about really cool stuff. And builders, you offer this stuff, you need to actually offer it. So for the first time this year, hopefully you can read that. The orange is a little, it's not very legible. But what you see up there is game room, outdoor kitchen, smart home, home automation, barkitecture. And you got to say that like bark-itecture, right? And it's actually barkitecture, but only 50% are dogs, the other 50%. Yep, exactly. Or maybe, I don't know, other animals. But these are categories that builders are now putting in the system, because the builders in Envision, you can decide how many categories you want, you can call them whatever you want, you can organize the products however you want, you can organize it by room, you can organize it by category, we don't care. So this is actually what builders are putting in. Now that's pretty exciting.
I'm tearing up.
Are you
Oh, you
tearing
can't
up?
see it. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a little one. It's like in the holiday with
And maybe
Cameron
you-
Diaz.
Maybe you
Just a little-
personally have done that. Maybe it's personally. But it is pretty exciting to start to see these be marketed. So we're gonna dive into a few of these, and then we're gonna get into kind of some examples of how you showcase these things. So let's start with architecture. Everybody say that. Woodside Homes, they do amazing virtual walkthroughs and virtual tours, virtual reality tours of their house. So you can completely walk through the house, and you can configure. And guess what? They have a pet den option. So you can walk through, and I don't know how much they charge for it, but I'm sure it's a hefty margin, but you can walk through and pick that option. They also have an optional pet station in the laundry room for kind of showering and bathing your pets, probably not your cats. But again, they've tapped into that emotional need and that desire. We talked about that yesterday as well. It came up in terms of how people will invest in their pets. I can't remember how much active adults spend.
Like
Is it
$10,000
$10,000 a year or something on their pets because they don't have kids, they have grown kids. So great example there. This is an example of watching Google search trends, and Google never tells you the actual numbers, but they will tell you relative value. What you'll see is in March of 2022, searching for home charging stations just spiked up crazy. You could say it's because there's more electric cars. At that time, gas prices were high. I think it's this. Ford's electric F-150 Lightning pickup truck can fully power an average house for 3 days on a single charge. So that's pretty cool. That's a compelling reason to put a charger in your garage. Now, I think it's just a bunch of men got together and said, we want to buy trucks, and this justifies the fact that I need a new truck, and thus the charger, right? Don't you think?
That's
Good-
cruel.
good self
That's
tip.
very cruel.
Sounds about right.
Is it cruel? Anya agrees with
It's
me.
unkind.
We could take a vote, yeah. But anyway, so you just kind of watch these trends, and what's exciting to me is that builders are starting to put charging options in their selections and their opportunities. And again, you may include these. You may be an everything's included builder. You may do packages. Whatever you do, you've got to tell that story. So there's some amazing deeper content around charging stations and why you want to do those. And then builders are getting with the program as well. If you know Brett from Nice, wouldn't you love to work for a company called Nice? Just to be so nice.
It's a good fit for him.
It is a great fit for him. He's a really nice person. But they are starting to package. They have a ton of products that can get lost in the sea of gadgets, and they're now starting to package them into lifestyle-friendly packages. So manufacturers are getting with the game. Builders are getting with the game. Really, really good to see. So I'm going to just walk through some different categories, and some of these are the categories that are not commonly touched, like the kitchens and things like that. So outdoor living, we'll start there. And again, we've got some Google data on smokeless fire pit. Who knew that was a thing? Really exciting. So that's definitely interested. It spiked at the beginning of the pandemic. No surprise there. But we're starting to see builders really get with the program in terms of showcasing outdoor living and having outdoor living categories. So this is a virtual tour. You're walking through, you get to walk outside. Some builders don't do the outside. I would highly encourage the outside because that is such an important part of our lives. But this allows you to go through, you can pan around, you can walk around, you can change it to dusk, flip on the TV. So you get that experience of outdoor living both in the daytime and the nighttime. And then we're going to talk about a little bit tech with smart tags, right? So while we want to show the lifestyle and all that good stuff, we also want to show what is kind of driving this stuff. And it's interesting. So again, another virtual reality tour of a house where you can walk through and you can look at the little hot spots, you can explore, change the scenes, but then you can also click and see the details on the actual product because consumers do care about that. That's really important to them. And then more around what's behind the walls, right? Because there are things that you can't see, but they are important. So this is an example of a virtual tour, virtual reality tour, and I can click and I can see kind of what's back there and I can get more detail if that's of something of interest. But within that same virtual tour, I can actually visualize the magic of flex spaces and different times of day. So you don't have to have different tours for different purposes. So in this case, same room, but it's a den by day, and it's time for movie night. So we're gonna flip our magic switches, and the curtains close, the screen comes down, the lighting changes, and we are ready for movie night. And if we could smell the popcorn, that would help. If we could put smell in, that would be great. But again, it's hard for consumers and our shoppers to visualize this and experience it. They may see it on your floor plan, you may talk about it, you may even have some images, but for them to truly experience, there's just no replacement for that. And then all of this is powered by the industry's own content hub in Envision. So all these manufacturers every night are pumping in their fresh content, obsoleting content that they may be obsoleting, updating content, and they're responsible for the deep, rich, immersive pieces that come together. And what you can do then is actually layer on top of Envision virtual reality or visualizers. So those virtual reality tours that we saw, and this one, you can see I'm going in and I'm configuring, I'm looking at the products, I want to understand more. And if I decide to, I can click on the VR tour, add it to my wish list, or I can go back into Core Envision and do it that way. But the key is it's all integrated. And from a consumer perspective, I can choose my path. I can choose which way do I want to go through personalizing my house. And we talked about being visit worthy, right? So, 63% of homes were actually, an offer was made online before anyone ever visited. And I think that was in 2019. And that's kind of threw people, right? It was kind of like, wow, that's pretty amazing, but not really. When you think about millennials as our largest buying group, they do everything on their phone, and they don't know anything about houses anyway. And if I can do a Matterport tour and I can read the reviews online and all that stuff, I may or may not come see you. I'll come see you later, perhaps. But you guys have retail spaces and you actually do want them to come see you in most cases. But if all you have is the garage of a model home, you're gonna have to do some things to make that compelling, because otherwise it'll actually be a negative for you and undo the sale. But there are things that you can think about and things that you consider that will actually make you more visit worthy. So one is, this is an example of Woodside. They use Envision online, but they do an amazing job of actually carrying that experience through. So everything you see on Envision, everything you see online in pre-sales, as you're designing, all of that, then when you show up for your design appointment, it's seamless. It's all the same branding, all the same messaging, ties together really nicely. So they've done a good job on that. You can do life-size displays, and the price on those are coming down. But imagine if you have a huge life-size display, and we have one in our Experience Center in Austin, if anybody ever wants to come visit and play with all of these things. And imagine your kitchen visualizer or VR tour in life-size display. It means your kitchen would be real size, like the cabinets would be the right size. And it really is an immersive experience. That's a reason to come see you, right? Like that's actually really, really exciting and useful. So those are the things that you can do. Kiosks are really a must. One, we are a self-service economy. We really want to look at things. There's a reason we walk in the model home, or Spiegel, if there's any Spiegels around, I don't know. We walk in and they go, "Can I help you?" Just looking. I mean, you walked into a model home, like you didn't get there by accident, right? But you want to explore. You want to, on your time and on your flow, you want to get comfortable. Kiosks are an amazing way to do that. And you can use kiosks as, I'm a customer, I'm just using it myself, or it can be the piece that your salesperson is using to walk through that experience. But you should have kiosks in your model homes, your sales centers, your design centers. Again, content flowing through, so it's a very continuous experience. So we'll just take a look at this kiosk.
Take them on a journey. Tell them the story of your community. Let them explore the surrounding area. Use Google Maps to drop in and look around. Let your community shine with the latest in tour and graphic technology. Let them share, compare, spin, and interact with the unique multi-touch interface. Search by model or floor plan. See elevations. Set favorites. all with the touch of a finger. And when the journey is complete, send it directly to their inbox. The Sales Max kiosk from BDX, using the power of touch to change the future of new home sales.
So what you'd notice is as I was doing all of that, whether I'm doing it by myself or with the salesperson, I get a brochure. You now have a lead. You know who came into the sales center, and we don't always know that. This next one is an example of an iPad driver that comes with your virtual reality tour. A lot of times when we think about virtual reality, we think about strapping on the headsets. That's not really the most common use case. Yes, you do have millennials and Gen Zs who like to play with that, but the best use cases, they've come in to see you, you sit them down on the couch with a couple glasses of wine, and you actually drive them through and help them configure their house, right? So you're actually editing and making that happen along the way. And of course, if they want to strap on a headset, they can do that. And if they want to grab the iPad, they can do that too. But again, that's a reason to kind of come in and see you. And yes, they'll see this content online, but there's even more in-depth experience, right? And then I think this is my last one. Don't forget about augmented reality, and sometimes we get confused on the different kinds of reality. We have virtual reality, which is completely fake. Nothing exists. Augmented reality is taking the physical space and then augmenting with virtual. So it's really meant for physically being there. And there's a ton of applications for this, but this is a reason to come see you. So I'm going to just show you this one. So I'm going to cut it off because I think you get the gist. It basically fixes the home on the lot where it will be, and then you walk, it's a fix. You can walk in, you can see out the window what your view is. You just got to be careful you don't step in a hole because you're like watching this thing. But that's a reason to come see you, right? That is a reason. You can have QR codes on the lot signs. Your salespeople can assist, and there's a whole bunch of other augmented reality pieces that will help people want to come see it. So that's what I had. Remember the goal, swipe right, not for dates, but to be found by shoppers.
Great. We do have time for a couple of questions if anyone has questions. I can't see a darn thing.
We have a question right there.
Right.
Bert?
With the augmented reality, how do they walk upstairs?
What's that?
How do you walk?
Augmented reality. Is that, or like, have you guys, or is it developing that?
No, we actually have them today. I will say not a lot of builders are doing it, right? Because it's kind of new and different. But we're starting to get a lot more interest. And there's things that you can do. You could have an app where you hold it up and you can see points of interest, right, around the community. And there's a restaurant over there and a Costco over here. You can do that. You can do things like TV sizing. It sounds ridiculous, or art sizing, where you can hold it up on a wall and play with different size monitors or artwork, all kinds of really cool stuff that you can do. Yeah, and you could be one of the first. Here we go. And we're going to give awards next year, right? Didn't we say awards for?
Yes. Whoever's implementing stuff from this event,
Yes.
we're gonna recognize you all. So
Yeah, and you'll
we
get
want this to be real.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you'll get a stuffed cat.
And what's cool with augmented
Among other
reality
things.
too is as a salesperson, they can design a home and then they can text it to you. And when you click on the link, it unfolds on your kitchen table in a 3D. It's really cool. So about texting somebody a house instead of sending them an email.
And it's all about that personalization, right? It's like, I don't want to buy Joe, Billy, Bob, the builder's house. I want to buy my home, right? And it's the more immersive that can be, and the more you get them down that journey of designing, whether it's kind of online or it's in person or probably a combo of both, you're going to get them closer to a sale.
And like Tim was talking about yesterday, I mean, it's not just the pet station, just that. I mean, it's little experiences like that you're not going to get it in used homes.
Right. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you've seen like 10 used homes, you've seen 5 new homes. The one you're going to remember has that little sparkle, has that little Ralph thing. It's like, well, yeah, we like that house, but oh, the one with the little pet den or the one with the, like, whatever. It's amazing how that's memorable, and you're more likely to get the sale.
Yeah. What I was seeing in your 2 platforms was the blending of the coming inside of the experience in the space with education, right? And we need both things for a lot of these lifestyle type features, right? And maybe not every point of education is going to be exposed, and maybe it's not going to be self-serve education, maybe it's going to be at the physical design center, but we all know some of these more complicated products don't necessarily get represented solidly by the average sales associate. They just don't get it.
Like, if I'm really good at design and colors and all that, I don't want to talk about that, like radiant whatever. That's scary. Like, that's really scary stuff. So they don't get presented, right? And then they don't get presented accurately or properly. And I think you have to win their hearts first. In a way, it's like, what's this going to do for my lifestyle? Then I need to understand the gadgets. And not everybody's the same. Like, engineers walking in, that may be reversed, right? So somehow you got to like honor all these different types of people and learning levels.
It's kind of complicated, huh?
It's very complicated. It's messy.
What else out there? Go ahead, speak up. Yeah. Hold on, you got a mic coming. We'll get your voice on video.
This question is going to be for Anya. I thought the idea of having the sound in the virtual tour is really cool and was really impressive, that experience. I do feel like there is an interesting question here, how to manage the expectations of the buyers when the sound, let's say once they visit the site, does not match up what they listened on a video, because you'll have cars, you'll have ambulances, whatever is coming by there. How do you handle that, managing the expectations of the buyers with having sound that are interesting in virtual tours?
Hey, incorporate the ambulance sound, right? If you have soundproof windows, that's a perfect one to show off, right? Maybe open the window, the ambulance going by, shut the window, you can't hear a thing. I mean, it's just, I think make it represented as much as possible to what the reality is going to be, because at the end of the day, your buyers want to know what it's going to feel like to live there. So I would say if you happen to be on a busy highway, you might as well maybe put that noise there, because guess what? They're going to come in, and if they're not going to live next to that busy highway, it's going to be a no anyway. So you might as well move on to the next one.
And I would say there's room for poetic license on some of this stuff, right? Like,
for sure.
It's not going to be, there's an acceptance that it's advertising. It's going to be a little bit idyllic, right? So long as there are seagulls,
Right.
I mean, I don't think you're doing any disservice.
Awesome, that makes sense. Thank you.
What else? All right, we're out of time anyway. Thanks again to all the panelists. There's really cool stuff developing there, and I'm going to weep in privacy.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Thanks again.